Thank you all for tuning in. I want us to jump right into this conversation. It's something that I think it's needed. It's impactful. Um, we've been our previous conversations have been pretty much about identifying some of the challenges that come along with leadership, some of the bad habits of certain leaders. Um, I We had a conversation yesterday during our Sunday school lesson about leaders about immaturity, and I shared some things that I had gotten regarding dealing with being immature, and I thought today was a good time to continue the conversation because when it comes to leadership, a lot of times we deal with some immaturity as leaders. We work with immature people. Sometimes we work with immature leaders, and it really has an effect, usually a negative effect, on everyone that's involved. And so I thought it was a good idea to kind of continue the conversation to talk about some of the signs and some of the dangers of immature leadership. As leaders, it's our duty and it's our job to uplift others, to empower others, to be able to lead vision, to be able to direct people, to be able to help people to grow as well as grow ourselves. But one thing that I always preach and I always say is that leadership is something that has to be intentional. It has to be something that you have to invest in. You got to invest in your growth. You got to invest in your development. And a lot of times there isn't much, a lot of times companies and organizations don't spend the time investing in the development, leadership development of the people that are in upper level positions. So want to talk about immature leadership because it's one thing that I've come to realize is that immaturity oftentimes is one of the reasons why leaders are ineffective. And one thing that I've learned about immature individuals and immature leaders is that they really don't know that they're immature. It's almost as if they have blinders on. They think that everything is okay. They think that things are going well, right? They don't know the impact and the effect that their actions and decisions have on others. And so let's talk about it. Let's talk about some of the issues of immaturity, immature leaders, and even as leaders leading immature people. It's a huge back and forth. It's a huge challenge that comes with building vision. It's a huge challenge that comes with growth. It comes with any organization. It doesn't matter whether it's a corporate organization, it's a nonprofit organization. It doesn't matter if it's a religious organization, if it's a church, if it's a ministry, if it's school, if it all arenas. There are no limitations to it, and every field, every area deals with some form of immaturity. See, one thing that I've come to realize is that immaturity is an indication that of both inexperience and underdevelopment. So we're going to talk about that tonight. What are some of the challenges that you see as a leader? Um, some of the characteristics or signs of immaturity that you've seen in your experiences. Good evening, Pastor L. Thanks for tuning in. What are some of the challenges that you see where immaturity is involved? Because you look and you like I said, there's not a lot of encouragement for leadership development or personal growth, and usually those type of products that you see that are considered self-help, right? It's a little frustrating to me as a leader. I'm gonna throw that out there. It's a little frustrating to me as a leader because you see a lot of these self-help, motivational speakers, um, that try to give these products, but most of these self-help products, they're marketed as like a get rich quick scheme, right? You look up on YouTube, you look at books, you look at all kinds of marketing material, and it'll say something crazy like earn your first $10,000 within 30 days. Earn $50,000 in your first 50 days. Do this and you'll become a millionaire. And it gives this kind of cheap facade, this cheap um gimmick. That's the word I'm looking for. It gives this cheap gimmick that if you do these quote unquote self-help tips, you'll become a millionaire, or you'll make your first $50,000 within your first 30 days. And really and truly, those things are not realistic. It becomes very gimmicky because everyone's trying to stand out. Everyone is trying to encourage growth, but it gives you real unrealistic expectations. So you buy their product and you pay whatever price, $59.99, $39.99, whatever their sales price is, and you do the steps, and then you don't make the $10,000 in the first 30 days, and then you become discouraged, right? Because the truth of the matter is that development and growth is not a quick get rich quick scheme. It's not something that can just be done in 30 days. It's unrealistic. It's unrealistic, some of these products that are out there. But real development, real equipping, real growth takes time, and it requires intentionality. And so a lot of people, they're inexperienced and they're underdeveloped because of the fact that there isn't much out there that's really helping them to take the time to grow. And sometimes the real things that are required to grow takes too long in their eyes, right? It takes 4 years to complete to finish, to get a degree, right? And to you, it seems like too long. But guess what? In 4 years, you're still going to be in the same position if you don't take the time out to invest in your education, right? You take a course, or you do a job training program, or you start a new job and you start at an entry level position, and it seems like it's taking too long for you to move up in the ranks because of the fact that because it requires time to develop. So we have to be aware of the fact that if we want to grow as leaders and we want to be developed, we have to invest the time and the money and our energy and our effort if we want to really become good leaders and become great leaders and really push forward in building vision. Now, when we look at it, right? We look at our society today. We're a talent-driven society, right? Most companies, right, their HR department has changed into talent development departments and talent relation departments, right? We're a society that's driven by talents and talent development. Talent development becomes a priority. And as a result, we have extremely talented individuals, extremely talented leaders and managers in position, but they're immature as it pertains to leading a team and creating positive relationships and managing personalities. We want people who are the best at their skills, the best at what they do, right? You go on Google's website, they want the best coders, they want the best programmers, they want the best to help meet their bottom line and increase their profit margin. So we ultimately have talented people who are immature. They're immature. They don't know how to manage relationships. They don't know how to create connections. They don't know how to manage personalities. They don't know how to lead a team of people. They're just good at what they do. And because they're good at what they do, they get elevated in the ranks and they get promoted to management positions, but have no management skills. They have no management abilities. And so now we have a society of talented people who are immature. Now, what makes immaturity dangerous, right? What makes immaturity dangerous is the fact that it can be filled with great intentions. An immature person usually, for the most part, has great intentions. They want to do good, but it's poor execution. So great intention, but poor execution. Right? They want to do great. They want to do well. But they're because of the fact that they're unaware of the immaturity, because they're unaware of their poor execution skills and their poor leadership skills. They fail at inspiring others. They fail at galvanizing others. They fail at really leading and driving vision. When you look at immaturity, it's something that is rooted in inexperience, right? Usually, inexperience creates immaturity, because ultimately you don't know certain things and you don't know everything, but yet you're still driving. And I was sharing this yesterday that most of the time, it's the immature that have the most ambition, right? They're super ambitious. They're motivated. They're driven to accomplishing goals, but their inexperience becomes a stumbling block for them. Right? You see this all the time wherever you go. You see that on your job. You see that in politics. You see that in businesses. You see that in churches. You see that in ministries. You see that all over the world. The lack of maturity, lack of experience, it causes you to make rookie mistakes. And what happens is that most immature people, they don't want to admit that they're immature. They don't recognize that they don't know enough. They just feel like they can find ways to supplement the experience. If I've learned anything in my time on this earth, is that you cannot supplement experience. There is nothing like the value of experience, right? The value of experience, it makes a world of a difference. You can be the most talented person, but someone with more experience will be able to get further than you. See, the thing is that we try, a lot of times the immature, they try to supplement experience with talent or with money or with ambition, with drive. Yes, I don't have enough experience, but I'm driven, I'm focused. I'm willing to put in the hard work. But there's no replacement for ambition. I mean, experience. There's nothing that you can do to replace experience. Wisdom, right, is based on experience. It's the experiences that you have in life that will help you to develop new skills. It'll help you develop new perspectives. It'll help you to build compassion. It'll help you to build strategy. It'll help you to build stamina, right? All of these things, usually for the most part, are developed through experience. But the thing is that experience is always challenging. Experience is the only thing that you see in life where you have the test first and learn the lesson after. Experience teaches you things in real time, and it's always case by case scenario. But what I can appreciate with experience is that it helps you to develop that stamina. It helps you to develop that strategy. It helps you to develop that wisdom, right? It helps you to develop that wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, right? It helps you to develop tough skin. Helps you to develop tough skin and a strong back. Because you go through experiences that break you. You go through experiences that are troubling, that are hurtful, but ultimately it helps you to bounce back even stronger, right? Usually they tell you if you break a bone, that your body will help to heal that broken bone, and usually that broken bone will heal and become stronger than it was before. It's the experiences of the breaking that usually will produce a tougher skin and help you to become stronger in your pursuits. It helps you to stand because you've been through some things. But of course, it costs you something. And nobody really wants to experience or have certain experiences, right? There's certain experiences you just don't want. There's certain things that you have experienced that you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy. There's certain things that you experience that it was just rough in the moment. It was hard in the moment, and it felt like it cost too much. How many of us have had those kind of experiences where it's just like, man, this thing cost me too much. I had to lose too much in this experience, right? I had to lose too much. I had to sacrifice too much. I had to give up too much of who I thought I was or who I thought I needed to be in order to get through to the other side. Nobody wants to experience hardship. Nobody wants to experience trouble. Nobody wants to experience difficult moments. But what we have to do as people and as leaders is we have to recognize the value of our experiences. We have to, first of all, we have to learn the difference between cost and value. Most of our experiences will produce a greater value than what it costs. See, when you look at value and you look at cost, the difference between cost and value is that cost is based on right now, the price right now, but value is based on future worth. I'll say that again. Cost is based on the price right now, but value is based on future worth. You'll pay a price now, but ultimately the worth, the value of it, the future worth of those experiences will far outweigh the cost. I saw someone post on Facebook the other day. What would you tell yourself? If you had a chance to, if you had 30 minutes to speak to your 18-year-old self, what would you tell them? Right? I saw that post on Facebook, and I immediately responded, invest in Google. If I had a chance to talk to 18-year-old Colin, what I would tell him is invest in Google. Invest in Apple. Because at the time, Apple stock was like $1.67 or $1.70, something like that, right? And now when you look at Apple now, it is a $1 trillion valuation. This Apple stocks are worth thousands of dollars now, right? There you see individuals this one individual I saw a video of, he said that he invested, I think like $100,000. It was $100,000 in Apple. And in 2016, his stock was worth $16.5 million. Why? Because the cost of the value of the stock eventually outweighed the cost of it. See, we may not necessarily want to have certain experiences in our lives, but ultimately the value that it produces will far outweigh the cost. Right? For my preachers out there, right? The light afflictions, it will produce a greater weight of glory, right? We know that the light afflictions will produce a greater weight for my preachers out there. So the value will always outweigh the cost. But the problem with immaturity is that an immature person doesn't want to pay the price. So they sacrifice both cost and value for convenience. They sacrifice it for convenience and for comfort. It costs me too much, and I don't really see the value in going through this. I just want to be comfortable. I don't want to be inconvenienced. I don't want to be, I don't want to have to go through this, right? I don't want to have to experience this to be better. I don't want to have to experience this to grow. I'm talented enough. I'm anointed enough. I'm ambitious enough. I have enough faith. See, the thing is that faith cannot replace experience. Faith will give you the hope to get through your experiences, but faith cannot outweigh the value of an experience. So when we talk about the dangers of immaturity, immature people, they try to find shortcuts. They try to find ways to not have to sacrifice the cost. They find ways to try to cheat, to have access to the value while still being comfortable. So no, I don't want to do that. So I'll take this route. I don't want to go that direction, but I'll take this route. But anybody that knows, when you try to cut costs and you try to make shortcuts, usually it takes longer. Shortcuts usually take longer to get to the destination than actually following the path. Right? One thing, I'm always driving, right? And so a lot of times I'll try to take shortcuts to get to where I'm trying to go, thinking that it'll get me there quicker. And 9 times out of 10, let me give myself more credit. 8 times out of 10, the quote unquote shortcut that I took that I thought would get me to where I'm going faster usually makes me sit in traffic longer. I'll say, oh, well, let me dodge traffic on this road and let me take this road instead. But really, that road takes longer to get to my destination point than if I were to just stay on track. And so whenever you try to dodge experience, it ultimately becomes a disservice to you as a leader, and it eventually will cost you more in the long run. Right? How many of us we have had car issues, and instead of taking it to the mechanic to get repaired, instead of taking the car to the mechanic to get repaired, we try to put a band-aid on it, or we try to go with the cheaper option. Right? You ever go to the mechanic and they say, well, you need to replace the spark plug, and you try to figure out what's the cheaper option, and they tell you, well, we can do this, but it's probably going to do more damage to the car. And you say, well, this is what I can afford right now. And then eventually 6 months down the line, not only do you need to change the spark plug, but you need to change the transmission. When you try to go with the cheaper route, it usually will cost you more. And so that's one of the dangers of being an immature leader, is if you try to cheapen the experience, if you try to cheapen or try to dodge the challenges, you put yourself and the people that you're leading in trouble, because now you no longer you don't have the value that you would have originally gained from that experience, and you're spending more effort and more energy in trying to make up the difference. Now, what are some signs? I'm gonna give you a moment. Take a moment and write in the chat. What are some of the signs that you have seen of an immature leader? Working with an immature leader, what are some of the characteristics that you notice, or some of the signs that you notice? Because when we are able to identify what those things are, then it'll help us, one, as leaders, not to fall into those traps. It'll help us as leaders how to identify when other people are falling into that trap and help us to navigate through that. And it also helps us to identify with other leaders, because as a leader you're working on 3 different levels. You're working on improving yourself, you're working with a team, and then usually you're working with someone that's above you. And so you can experience these challenges on all levels. So what are some of the signs or some of the things that you have noticed that are common with immature leadership? So Anna says control issues. Shanishi says that not allowing your talents and ideas and voice to be heard. And it also says when they're not teachable. All these are great examples. Thank you so much for sharing. All these are great examples. If you guys remember, we did a whole talk about insecure leadership, right? A lot of times you'll see some of the common signs of an insecure leader as well as an immature leader, because immaturity shows a lack of development in a certain area. And what I realized is that when it comes to an immature leader, a lot of times the area of immaturity is in the relationships with others. That's usually the primary indicator of immaturity, is that they don't know how to work with others. They don't know how to relate with others. So Shanice says, not great at asking for help. That's also a great example. So those are some of the signs that you see. I'm gonna give you a few. Since Shanice shared that, that's one of the examples that I have as well, is that an immature leader, right? They struggle to ask for help. They struggle to ask for help because they don't want to seem incompetent. They don't want to seem like they don't know what they're doing. They don't want to seem like they don't have it all together. And what sometimes the result of that is, they lash out when there's too much pressure. Because of the fact that they don't want to ask for help, they'll lash out when things become when the pressure becomes too great. They will allow themselves to struggle and to suffer a great deal before they ask for help. They'll make excuses, they'll lie, they'll cut corners, they'll cover up mistakes. All of these things because they don't want to ask for help. And because they don't want to seem as if they don't know what they're doing. And so as a result, when the pressure becomes too great, they start to lash out at those that are around them. And a lot of times that lashing out will come out as it'll look like aggression. It'll come off as this kind of take charge kind of personality, this hustle hard attitude where they're pushing the team to go, 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 go. But really, it's just an act of over aggression, and it alienates the whole team. You've seen that, where someone has this aggressive, driven kind of attitude when it's not really helping the team, it's just frustrating everybody, because everybody knows, your team knows that you're not well versed in certain areas, and sometimes they're waiting for you to ask for help. So rather than allowing yourself to crumble under the pressure, a mature leader knows how to ask for help. See, when you ask for help, it empowers the rest of the team. It allows them to have some level of ownership, some level of partnership. They feel involved. And so it's always best to ask for help. And especially when you're asking that individual on your team in an area that's their area of expertise. You know good and well that you don't know nothing, that you failed at math. You know that you barely made it through algebra, right? You barely made it through algebra, but you're trying to handle um, all the accounting requirements of the organization. Why put yourself under that pressure? Why put yourself under that challenge? Just delegate the responsibility to someone who has an accounting degree. Right? As a leader, you have to learn to not want to be in front of everything, but you know how to delegate the responsibilities, you know how to ask for help, and you know how to motivate and encourage. Right? It makes no sense trying to put on a facade that you know what you're doing. Really, you have no clue. That's why you recruit a team, because you hire and you recruit individuals who have expertise in areas that you do not. Right? I saw this quote one day by 50 Cent. He said, "I don't have a college degree, but I have Harvard graduates working for me." Right? He's a multimillionaire without a college degree, but he hires people with college degrees. So you don't have to be the smartest person in the room. Really and truly, a great leader knows how to hire people that are smarter than them and use their and empower them and allow them to demonstrate their talents and their skills and their abilities while you manage. And so you don't want to fall into that trap of being an immature leader. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to don't be intimidated to by others and their abilities, but be open and honest and ask for help, ask for assistance. So that's one sign of an immature leader. They don't know how to ask for help, and it causes them to lash out at others. Another sign of an immature leader is that they try to find ways to close the gap between them and others who are experienced. They know that they don't have the same level of experiences as someone else, and so they try to find a way to close that gap. They will try to find some kind of way to it's almost as if they have this anything you can do, I can do better mentality. They have this anything you can do, I can do better mentality, and they play the comparison game, and they try to find some advantage, some competitive advantage to be able to measure up with those that are experienced. When I first started my job and I started working in my department, right? I was working with individuals who had been there for 10 plus years, 20 plus years, right? I didn't try to act as if I was on the same level as them. I didn't try to act as if I knew just as much as them. I didn't allow myself to I didn't try to compare myself to them. Right? I recognize that I don't have the same experiences that they have, and so I'm not going to try to put myself out there as if I can rock with them on the same level. And we see that too many times where the inexperienced, they're trying to find a way to hang on and be on the same level as be on the same level as someone who has been more experienced. We see that oftentimes in churches, right? We see someone who's been in ministry for 20, 30 plus years, and we try to compare ourselves with them. Or someone who is immature, who hasn't been doing what you've been doing as long as you've been doing it. And so they try to do things to compare. They try to do things to get attention, right? To show that they're just as good as you are. It's a clear sign of immaturity. There, you have to recognize that some people just outrank you, and it's okay. It's okay that it's best to surround yourself around people who are smarter than you so that you can be able to learn from them. But the immature, they don't do that. They try to find ways to put themselves on the same level, the same platform as someone else. They try to get familiar. That's a huge thing, right? Oh, we're on the same level, and so they use familiarity, right? We always hear the saying familiarity breeds contempt, right? A lot of times people allow familiarity. Well, we came from the same place, right? We grew up in the same neighborhood, right? All of these things are to bring you down to their level. It reveals a lack of respect. They have no respect for who you are or where you are. And so they try to put themselves they try to bring you down to their level so that you're on an even playing field. Clear sign of immaturity. And you never want to put yourself in a position where you're comparing yourself to anybody. There's a quote that says, if you hang around 6 smart people, you will be the 7th smart person. If you hang around 6 millionaires, you will become the 7th millionaire. If you hang around 6 entrepreneurs, you'll become the 7th entrepreneur. Sometimes it's best to be the dumbest person in the room so that you have the greatest opportunity for growth. You have the greatest opportunity to learn and to develop. See, with that said, let me throw in this little caveat or this little nugget. There is, in fact, a way to gain experience without gaining experience. There is a way to be able to learn without having to experience something yourself. And that's by learning from others. Right? A wise person learns from the mistakes of others. They learn from the experiences of others. That's why having a coach and having a mentor is important. Having another leader that you look up to, that can mentor you, that can coach you, that can give you wisdom, that can give you that can give you the knowledge that they've developed over the years from their own experiences. We can't allow ourselves to be so prideful that we don't want to learn from others, because that's the only way that we can be able to gain value without having to experience it ourselves, is to be under the tutelage and be under the mentorship and be under the coaching of someone who has gone through certain experiences that can give you the spark notes, that can give you the quick summary of what they've been through, and they can help to advise you as to how to dodge certain pitfalls. Right? I shared this yesterday, that you will be able to learn from their experiences, because the things that they're trying to warn you to avoid, most of the time it's because it's something that they fell into. It's a hole, it's a trap, it's a pitfall that they fell into. And so they're not trying to advise you because they don't want you to grow. They're trying to advise you because they've been there, they've done that, and they want you to avoid it. But many of us, we allow pride to kick in, and we feel like, oh, well, I can do it. I can overcome, right? Oh, one thing that I hear some young people say is that, oh, well, how am I going to learn if I don't experience it myself? Yeah, you can experience it yourself, but why not learn from someone who has experienced it so that you can move forward and experience something else? So that's a way that you can avoid certain experiences, is by learning from a mentor, by learning from a coach, by learning from someone who is more experienced, and really being a sponge being a sponge to them and absorbing their experiences, listening to their stories, and keeping quiet, not sharing your opinion, but really just absorbing everything that they're sharing with you. Being able to see from their perspective, evaluate their experiences, and be able to say, all right, great, this is what they experience, this is what I can get from it, and now I know if I come into this situation, this is what I can do to overcome it. So it's important to have mentors. It's important to have coaches in your life. And I'm an advocate for more than one mentor. I'm an advocate for more than one coach. But I'm going to give you the asterisk with that. But you have to have a purpose for that particular mentor. You have to have a purpose for that particular coach. They have to have an area of expertise that you can glean from, that you can learn from. Right? They have to be, if you're going to have multiple mentors and you're going to have multiple coaches, make sure that their expertise are differ in value. Right? I don't need to have two coaches in the same field, right? If I'm learning how to grow, if I'm learning how to grow as an entrepreneur or learning how to grow in accounting and finance, I don't need two mentors in that area. I just need one who's an expert in that area, but I can have a mentor who knows how to market. Right? It makes no sense because they're going to have, if you have two mentors in the same field, in the same area, they're going to sometimes have conflicting information because they have different experiences. Right? You can go on YouTube and you'll look up a certain topic like exercising, tips for how to lose weight, right? And you'll have one fitness person that'll say, do this, and this will help you to lose weight. And you'll have another person that says that's not right. Do it this way. It's best that you have one particular mentor that's going to focus on one area that you're trying to develop, and then have another mentor in another area that you're trying to develop in. Because you don't want to have conflicting information because you're trying to seek you're trying to seek mentorship in the same area. And I'm laughing because it just triggered a memory of a video I saw yesterday with Bishop T.D. Jakes. He was doing a teaching and he was saying, some of us, we got 5 spiritual fathers and we have 6 spiritual mothers, and none of them is teaching us anything. He was like, you need to go sit down somewhere. And the truth of the matter is, there's so many people out there that are like, oh, I have 4 different spiritual fathers. Why do you have 4 spiritual fathers? Ultimately, at some point, all 4 are going to clash with one another. It's best that you just have one spiritual father, one spiritual mother, one mentor that's going to mentor you in entrepreneurship, one that's going to mentor you in how to manage money, right? It's best to have different areas, mentors in different areas that's going to help you accomplish your particular goal. So that's my little caveat when it comes to mentors and coaching. You can have more than one mentor, you can have more than one coach, but thank you, Minister Cindy. You don't want to have too many cooks in the kitchen. If you're gonna have someone that's gonna teach you how to make chicken, don't have 6 people trying to teach you how to make chicken. Have one person that's gonna help teach you how to make chicken. Have another person that's gonna teach you how to make steak, and have another person that's gonna teach you how to make rice. Because ultimately, all of those experiences are going to help you to ultimately create the perfect plate. So you don't want to have too many people in the steering wheel of your life. So that's a little nugget that I want to throw out there, because I think it's important to understand and important to know, because a lot of people, they fall into that trap. So What did I say? Sign of immaturity, right? The comparison with those who are more experienced. Another sign of an immature leader is that they don't take responsibility. An immature leader never wants to be accountable for anything. They find ways to shift blame. They find an excuse. You ever talk to somebody who always has an excuse for everything? They always have some kind of excuse. And they always have a story. Oh my gosh. I remember a friend that I used to have who always had a story. Always had a story as to why they got fired from their job, or they always had a story as to why they got into this conflict with someone. They always had a story as to why they don't have any money. They always had a story for everything. And every story that they tell is never their fault. They never did anything wrong. It was something that people did to them, and they always try to find ways to justify their decisions and their actions. Right? You'll see that in leadership where they'll blame the team to upper management. Right? And they'll blame upper management when it comes to the team. They'll come to you and say, "Man, this is what the people upstairs want. It's not something that I'm trying to do, but it's what they want from us." And then they'll be the same one that goes to the upper management and say, "Well, the team, they didn't do the job. They didn't complete the project. They didn't complete the assignment. It's all on them. I tried to push them. I tried to get them to do the work. They just won't do it." So they always find an excuse. They always put the blame on others. They never want to take a responsibility. But a mature leader knows how to take accountability for his or her mistakes. They know how to be accountable for their actions and their decisions, right? Most mature leaders will even be accountable for the mistakes of their team. Great leaders will always give credit to the team for the good, and they'll always accept the blame for the bad. That's a characteristic of a great leader. When the team succeeds, it's the team that caused the success. When the team fails, it's on me. I was the one who didn't. I should have done better. I should have done better at managing the time. I should have done better at managing the project. I should have done better in helping the rest of my team to be in a position to be successful. So a mature leader always knows how to be accountable. They're not afraid to apologize. They're not afraid to admit that they made a mistake. They're not afraid to admit that they made the wrong decision. When you want to be a mature leader, you're not seeking attention. You're not seeking praise. You're not seeking a trophy. You're not seeking to be recognized. As long as the vision is growing, as long as the people are growing, as long as I'm growing, that's all that matters. And so they're always the first to take the blame and always the first to give the credit. And then a huge one. So we have that they don't know how to ask for help, and it'll cause them to lash out. They like to compare themselves and try to find ways to have an advantage over those that are experienced. And another thing with that, there is no way that someone who has had 2 years of experience can know more or have greater wisdom than someone who has 10 years of experience. It doesn't matter how talented you are. It doesn't matter how intellectual you are. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter how connected you are. Because experience will teach you the nuances. They'll teach you the small things. They'll teach you the small tips and the small strategies that'll have a greater impact. What I also said, they refuse to accept responsibility. They'll never take the blame. They'll always blame others. And then this last one that I'm going to give to you, and then I'll let you guys go, is They take things personally. Any kind of challenge, any kind of criticism, any kind of confrontation, it's taken as a personal attack. They have no they lack in the areas of self-control and self-confidence. And so any kind of criticism, any kind of disagreement, anything that goes wrong is taken as a personal attack against them. Right? So if someone leaves the organization or someone leaves the church, they become offended. If someone makes a mistake, they take it on as a personal offense. Well, why would they leave? Why would they quit? Why would they move to another department? Right? They take it on as something, as a personal attack against them. And even if it's an encounter where it's receiving feedback or constructive criticism, it's taken as a personal attack. Try to give constructive criticism to an immature leader or an immature individual, and they'll immediately look at you as being jealous, or they'll look at you as being a hater. They take it on as something personal rather than receiving that constructive criticism. Oh, that person is a hater. Oh, that person is just jealous because they're not in the position that I'm in. So they take it as a personal attack, and they'll do things that are petty to get back at you. You ever give feedback or have a disagreement with someone who's immature, right? One of the first things that some immature people will do is they'll immediately attack, as if you did something wrong to them, as if you intended to bring harm to them. They go from a 3 to a 10 in 0 to 60 seconds. They'll get angry because you violated them, or they'll take it as a violation. Not even you violated them. They take it as a violation, like you violated them, that you're attacking them, that you're disrespecting them. All for the small things. You'll do something small and they'll take it on as if we're at war. That's a sign of an immature leader. A lot of times too, a sign of an immature leader is when they feel like they're being personally attacked, they become passive aggressive. So they'll do little petty things to get back at you. They'll make slick comments when you say something, or on the job. You ever sent an email or had a conversation with someone who's immature? What do? They'll respond to your email and they'll copy everybody in the department. That was something that used to drive me crazy. That you'll send them an email, or you'll send them some kind of feedback, and they'll respond to the email very passive aggressively, will include your manager, their manager, HR. Why? When it's not even that type of situation that it needs to be escalated, where managers and HR has to get involved. I remember when I was a counselor, an advisor, I emailed a program head about a particular situation with a student. And because of their pettiness and because of their immaturity, they responded copying my manager, copying the professor, copying. Actually, the email was to a professor. It was an email to a professor about a particular situation that professor had with my student. And I sent an email to that professor, and that professor responded by copying my manager, by copying the program chair, by copying the dean of the school. Why? it wasn't that type of situation that required getting all of these people involved, but because of their passive aggressiveness and because of their immaturity to have a conversation, right? They took my email as a confrontation and they took it as a personal attack against them. How many times have you seen that where people have done those things and they do these small things like, why do you need to copy my manager on the email? Why isn't that we can't resolve this issue between us? Why do we need to get other people involved? And so they'll do these things, passive aggressive attacks. They'll make these slick comments, right? They'll hit you with the as per my email, right, kind of statements. Oftentimes it's a sign of immaturity. Now, granted, there are certain situations where people will just push you to the point where you'll be as mature as you can be, but because the situation is not being resolved, it needs to be escalated. That makes sense, but not in the first initial contact. And so immature leaders, they'll take it on as a time to go to war, and they'll take it as, oh, you're just being jealous, or you're just hating, or you're trying to take them from their position. But a mature leader knows how to separate personal feelings from the situation. They know how to put their feelings to the side, take a moment to properly evaluate the situation, and then they'll derive some kind of solution to deal with the challenge at hand. That's what a mature leader does. But oftentimes it requires experience, right? You'll see someone who's more experienced. They'll keep it very basic. Hey, good afternoon. Such and such and such. Can you do this? The end. Or they'll reach out to someone that they know can help. A lot of times experience will teach you who is the right person to contact and who is the right person to connect with that will get the job done. There's so many times where I've worked with other advisors and other counselors where they've sent an email to a particular professor or a particular department and get a nasty response. And they'll share with me. And because of the fact that I've had experience in developing relationships with others, and because I've been through certain scenarios and certain situations, I will say, well, hey, just contact this person in this area and they'll get it done for you. Because experience will help you to have something to reach back to. See, a mature leader, because of the experiences that they have, they're able to reach back to a frame of reference that'll help them to navigate through challenges. I've been doing this thing for 10 years and I've had these experiences. And so when you come to me with a scenario or an issue or a challenge that you're facing, guess what? I have a whole Rolodex of issues that I can reach back to, a whole Rolodex of experiences that I can reach back to and say, all right, do this, say this, or email this person, or put this in your email. See, that's the power of having the experiences, because you know that you can reach back into your mind and say, all right, this reminds me of this situation that I went through 5 years ago. And now you're able to draw wisdom and say, hey, guess what? Take this approach. Or I've had a bad experience in the past with that same individual. What I learned is if you respond this way, you'll get more action, or you'll get a resolve to your problem. That's why mature leaders are able to have a greater impact, because the experiences that they've had, the challenges that they faced, helps them to better navigate future issues. Because when they say when you see the saying that there's nothing new under the sun, there really is nothing new under the sun. Anything that you experience can you can be able to reach back to some past experience, draw the wisdom from that experience to help you get through future experiences. And so these are some of the challenges and some of the dangers of dealing with immature leaders, but also some of the benefits of dealing with mature leaders and being a mature leader. What I always say is that it's better to evaluate your experiences, learn from them, grow from them, so that you can get to that place of being a mature leader. It's the experiences that you have that helps you want to grow as a mature leader. It helps you to deal better with other immature leaders, as well as help you to deal with better with immature team members. And so as leaders, we have to constantly put ourselves in positions where we're growing and maturing and developing. And when we put ourselves in those positions through the experiences that we face, you're able to move past that place of immaturity and really be able to get to that place of having an impact. So regardless of what failures you have, what challenges you face, what conflicts that you've had to experience in the past, I encourage you to find value in it. When you're able to find value in the experiences rather than blame others, rather than justifying your faults, it's best to draw the value from it so that you can be better tomorrow than you were today. Everything that you've experienced in your life, everything that you've gone through, everything that you've seen, everything that you come across, right? All of these things help to build you up as a person. When you think about it, your purpose, your passion, your perspective, all of it is a culmination of the value of the life experiences that you've gained. People will look at you and say, "Man, you have so much patience." That's because I've been through troubling times. Right? People will look at you and say, "Wow, man, you have a way with words." That's because you've had the experiences where people treated you like you were the dumbest person in the room. It is the experiences that you have. Man, you're so nice. That's because I've been mistreated so many times by other people that I would never put other people in the same situation. It's the experiences that build your passion. It's the experiences that help you to recognize your purpose and help you to develop your perspective. But it's about finding the value in those experiences. It's not easy. It's rough. It's hard. You wish you never had gone through it, but you're so much better because you did go through it. There are some things that some things in our testimonies that are hard to share. They're hard to look back on. They're hard to think about. But I encourage you, find the value in it, because it's finding the value in those experiences, no matter how difficult they've been, in the failures that you've had, the disappointments that you've had to go through. When you dig into it and you find the treasure in it and you find the value in it, ultimately it will help you to advance and mature as a leader. Only the immature will discard the value of those experiences by blaming others, by not taking accountability, by not by justifying their actions or their responses. But a mature leader is able to take the value, develop the wisdom, and then have a greater impact on those that they're leading. And so with that, I want to leave you all tonight. I hope that this was helpful. Looking at my own experiences from growing and maturing. I'm still maturing as a leader. I'm still growing as a leader, but I'm learning more and more each day to value the experiences that I've gone through, to value the experiences that I've had, because I can be an encouragement to someone else. I can help someone else not go through the very thing that I went through. I can help someone not have to spend as long in that troubling situation as I have. And so I want to encourage you that your life experiences, there's value in it, and it's to help you and others to grow. And ultimately it will be have a greater impact in your leadership. And so I appreciate you all for tuning in. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me tonight in this conversation. Please avoid the pitfall of trying to find shortcuts in the value in the process. Many people, they don't want to be processed because it takes too long. And so avoid the pitfall of trying to dodge the process because you want to find a shortcut. One of the most impactful things that I learned yesterday, or actually this week in studying, is that Adam and Eve, right? Their biggest mistake is that they thought that they could decrease the gap between them and God just by eating a fruit, right? We look at the Adam and Eve and their sin and what they did. It ultimately was a sin of immaturity and a sign of immaturity, right? They thought that they could close the gap. They could close the experience gap between them and God by eating the fruit, right? What was the serpent's response to them as a temptation? His response was, "Don't you know if you eat this fruit, you'll be like God?" So they thought that if we ate this fruit, we can close that experience gap between us and God, and we can be on the same level as God just by eating of this fruit. And we ultimately, to this day, see the fruits and the result of that decision. And so avoid the temptation of trying to take shortcuts. Avoid the temptation of trying to shorten the process. Anything that has value takes time to be processed, right? If you're a cook, and I want to use this example because my wife and I low-key are addicted to cooking shows, and we're addicted to Hell's Kitchen and Gordon Ramsay shows. They're the best. Hell's Kitchen, Master Chef, they're the best because not only because of the way that Ramsay handles the chefs, but it teaches you a lot about cooking and about the importance of process. Because when you try to rush the process, when you try to rush the cook on your proteins, or you try to rush the cook on your meal, you ultimately produce raw food. Gordon Ramsay has this amazing talent that it's mind-blowing because he can look at someone's steak and let you know just by the look of it whether or not it's the right temperature. My wife and I, we were watching MasterChef the other day, and he looked at the lady's steak, and one chef was like, "Oh, the sear on your steak looks amazing." And even though it had a sear on the outside, and even though it had the gravy on it, Chef Ramsay looked at it and he said, "I want to give you one observation. Just by looking at it, I can tell that it's still raw in the middle." And when they cut the steak up, it was exactly as he said. It was raw in the middle. Because when you try to rush the cook, the processing and the timing of the cooking of the food, ultimately you produce something that's low quality. Anybody who's a baker, you know that if you're putting a cake in the oven, it takes time. You can't take it out of the oven before the time, because when you stick that knife in that cake, you'll still have the liquid, right? If you try to take a chicken out of the oven before it's fully cooked, it'll be red inside. It'll still be bleeding on the inside, and it'll be raw and it's inedible. So why am I saying that? Because when you try to rush process, ultimately it produces something that's inedible. It produces something that is low quality. It produces something that just doesn't fit. It's not finished. It's not done. And it needs to, it ultimately gets discarded. And so avoid the temptation, avoid the pitfall of trying to shorten the process. However long it's going to take, allow the process to work, because ultimately it's going to produce the greatest value. And we want to be able to produce the greatest value, because when we produce the greatest value, we produce the greatest impact. And so it's a sure sign of an immature leader to try to rush process for convenience. So I'm going to leave it at that, because I can talk all night about this stuff. So again, I hope this was impactful. I hope you were able to get something from it. I hope that this week you can start to evaluate your life and evaluate the things that you're going through, the things that you've been through, and even looking in the future, the stuff that you're about to go through. Find the value in it. Allow it to mature you. Allow it to help you to grow, so that ultimately you can be the best leader that you need to be. So thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your feedback. My mic is acting up. I appreciate your feedback. I appreciate your comments. I hope you all have a blessed week. Thank you so much for tuning in. See you next week for another conversation. Love you all, and God bless.